What is up, everybody? We are back with our Dynasty Startup Draft. This is rounds 7 through 10. We've already gone through rounds 1 through 6. I'll show you my screen here in a minute, and we'll talk about the first 6 rounds. But I'll introduce who I'm with. Jeff, my father. Brian, my brother. How's it going, guys?
How's everybody doing?
We got our Dynasty rookie draft happening right now, so it's a little exciting, I'd say, once it gets going.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, it's cruising along, I guess. Meaning that I made the first 2 picks, and here we wait.
Yeah, you were lucky enough to have picks 101 and 102, and you got Bijan and Anthony Richardson, which is pretty fantastic. And according to this draft board, you got the number 1 running back and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, a top 10 quarterback with your dynasty rookie picks. I'd say that's pretty close. I mean, maybe Richardson's more top 12 than he is top 10, but yeah, I mean that's a pretty good haul, I would say, right?
Yeah, I'm happy with it.
Yeah,
I'm definitely happy with it, and I was able to use some of my other draft capital to acquire Trevor Lawrence as well in the off season. So I'm sitting pretty happy.
Yep. Dad, you don't have a pick till the 3rd round or second round?
Second round. I got 209.
Oh yeah, that's right. You have my 209.
Tell me who you want so I can steal him in the second round.
Yeah, you wouldn't even know how to find him, so I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, there's I ended up trading away both my picks, actually, my top picks for 2024 next year. So we'll see how that works out. I'm hoping the team I traded to, if I had to bet on anyone finishing last, that's my bet. So that's kind of why I made that trade. I traded my 109, the 201, and the 201 is basically, it's a 10-team league, so it's basically the 111 for 2024 first. And if that's a top 3 pick, I think I come out as the winner. If it's anything past that, I don't know, maybe top 4 as well, but anything past that, I think I probably come out a little bit of a loser there. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we're just gonna have to see like what those. You won't know for like 3 years or something who won or lost. Like it changes so quick, right?
I mean, yeah, if you're basing it on like who you draft, but in terms of just like the pick value, I think if it's a top 3 or 4 pick, I probably win. And then anything after that, I would say I lose. Not even knowing who's being picked or not and how they turn out, because I feel like that's like a different side of it almost.
Yeah, I can see that. But yeah, we'll have to see who our buddy gets at 9 and 201.
Yep. I mean, you should be able to get either a first-round receiver or Will Levis or Kincaid. So we'll see. I just had deja vu. Anyways, looking at this Dynasty startup draft here, we've gone through 6 rounds, super flex, 12 team, half PPR. I guess I don't think it's actually put into the settings, but we usually play half PPR. It is with a bunch of computers, so you can see like Team 11 doesn't have a quarterback yet, which would almost assuredly never happen in a super flex league. I would say you have to take at least one quarterback in your first 3 picks, or you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot.
Team 3 only has CJ Stroud. Like, it's like, I don't know if that's the way to go into the season.
Yeah. So, I mean, we kind of talked about. Go ahead.
I was just going to say there are plenty of quarterbacks left, maybe with not as long of a life as you'd like in Dynasty, but there's plenty of quarterbacks still on the board that I wouldn't mind as my QB2, though. I mean, there's still Cousins and Goff and Carr. Geno's there. Aaron Rodgers is there, but yeah. Not necessarily the best Dynasty, but, you know.
For sure. Some interesting notes. I mean, Bijan as the RB1. I agree with it. I mean, I can see people arguing for McCaffrey still, but I think Bijan should be the RB1 taken. Anthony Richardson again going 201 is. I kind of did that. Not sure if I would exactly always do that, but I kind of just did it just to talk about it. But how you guys feeling, Dad? How you feeling about your team so far? We got Hurts and Daniel Jones, Eckler, Tyreek, Judy, Andrews.
Yeah, I'm just. This is where I kind of think like to fill in the holes here and just polish it up, get a good team, and kind of go from there.
Yeah, we were talking about how it seemed to thin out pretty quickly, and I guess we're in a 10-team dynasty league, and you can see the difference really of adding those 2 extra teams.
It's like a huge difference, absolutely.
I mean, 12 players gone, and so that translates into basically like think about certain players. Certain players are more valuable in a 12-team league than they are in a 10-team league. Like guys like a Jerry Jeudy could potentially be your wide receiver 2, like it is for Dad. Like that's how quickly it thins out, right? And so, guys have starting players have a little more value in a 12-team league than they do a 10-team league. So, Brian, how you feeling about your team?
I feel pretty good. I mean, I kind of said in a few, in so many words in like one of the last videos, like, I think I might have pivoted for my second pick, taking Young there. If I knew I could have got Daniel Jones in like the 5th round, kind of like, but again, like drafting with computers, I feel like it's like a little bit off. I know we already had this whole discussion, but I'm feeling pretty good. And yeah, you could definitely feel the difference. 10-team versus 12-team. Yeah. Hopefully we can get our redraft league back up to 12 to make it a little bit more fun. Like you kind of feel better about some of the guys you're starting as like your flex or your second flex in the 12-team leagues. You're kind of like, you look at everyone else's and you're kind of like, all right, this guy's not terrible, like.
Yeah, for sure. I'm putting you back on the clock there. Yeah, and you saying I would have waited on Bryce Young. That's the nature of the drafts, right? Like,
sorry, I gotta mute mine.
You just don't know who's gonna be there. So like, especially at the turns, like you're at the turn, I'm at the turn. You kind of have to take the guy, even if it's reaching a tad bit, because you're not gonna have another pick for a while. So
yeah. You definitely have to have more conviction at the turns, I think. But I mean, honestly, you kind of run into the same thing in the middle. Like there's kind of like the more obvious choice, like according to like ADP and stuff, but there's always that other guy that I feel, because I've drafted in the middle a lot, where it's kind of like, oh, I really want this guy and I know he's not going to come back to me. Mm-hmm. And honestly, it's kind of a harder decision to make, because then you're reaching and you're also like leaving someone on the board potentially better, and then you can really bite you in the ass.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just seeing.
I think that happens in the real draft. What the situation you explained.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. I think it's also hard to not, or to kind of like overvalue like these rookies too, like where it's easy to, like it's hard not to, where it's like, oh, like I want all of these guys, and it's kind of like, well, do you though? Like, do you really? Like,
yeah, I think that's the perfect case. Like the wide receiver 4 in any rookie draft is not the same year to year, right? Like just because they're both wide receiver 4 in the draft or wide receiver 1 in the draft, like they're just not the same. So they are always intriguing, and you can capitalize on that. You can capitalize on people overvaluing rookies, and we talked about it when we went through our picks. Why not trade the 110 for a Christian Kirk? Because that rookie has if he turns into Christian Kirk, you're super happy, right? If Zay Flowers turns into like what Christian Kirk has been doing the last couple years, you're like, all right, yeah, I hit on him, right? But the odds of that happening are lower. Of course, he could be better, but the chances are very low. So you can capitalize on that a little bit, and balancing the rookie and veteran thing. It's like if I see a guy and I see 2 to 3 more like good years out of him, I'm not even really worrying too much about age necessarily. Obviously you think about it, but it's not going to be like, nope, I have to take the younger guy type of thing. So I don't know if you guys feel the same about that, but
I mean,
balance.
Well, yeah, like I definitely think that at a certain point you kind of have to disregard the age a little bit, but I think it's also important to remember, like, sometimes these guys just kind of like they've been around for a while and you've seen flashes and then they actually come into their own. That's more like with wide receivers and maybe tight ends, like according to like those guys I feel like are so like usage dependent, depending on what team they are. Not 100%, but I mean just like it really depends on like if they're actually going to trust them, what receivers they have around them, and for the tight ends, that is. So,
yeah, for sure. Going through this round, it went. Brian, you started it off with J.K. Dobbins at the 701. Brendan Ayuk, 2 tight ends went, and Goddard and Freiermuth. Terry McLaurin, Rashad White, or Dad, you took Terry McLaurin, and then Rashad White, DeAndre Hopkins. Will Levis went at the 708 for Team 8's QB2. DJ Moore, Miles Sanders, Kirk Cousins. Finally, Team 11 does take a quarterback with Kirk Cousins. And then Jahan Dotson I took at the 712. Dad, how you thinking with McLaurin? What was your thought process between like McLaurin or Hopkins or Dotson or Marquise Brown?
Yeah, McLaurin. He obviously had a pretty good year. He seemed to have a connection with Heineke last year, and I know he's gone. And the only thing that worries me is Sam Howell is the quarterback, but McLaurin, he seems to get a little undervalued sometimes. And I think if you look at his numbers, they're always up there.
Yeah, he's definitely a solid wide receiver too, with maybe not week winning potential, but he'll easily he'll put up the 20 plus points a week sort of situations a couple of times every year. So you can't knock it for sure.
Yeah, the thing I always think about with guys like McLaurin and DJ Moore, who was taken 709 in this round. Both these guys are very similar how they've started their careers, in my opinion, of just like if they had a better quarterback, they could put up better numbers. They're still putting up 1,000, 1,100 yards. They're still putting up solid wide receiver 2 numbers. They could follow the same path as like a Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs did not become what he is now until his 6th year into the league. His first 5 years with the Vikings, his first 3 years, he didn't even have 1,000 yards. His last 2 years with the Vikings, he had 1,000 yards and 1,150 yards, and then he went to Buffalo.
1,000 right now?
Yeah, I was. I was going to say that. Or, I don't know. Numbers are hard. And then he goes to Buffalo in 2020. He puts up 1,500 yards, 1,200 yards, 1,450 yards. So he really exploded. After that, right? So those guys that could still happen for them. It could be DJ Moore. It could be with Fields. We'll see. McLaurin, this year, next year, maybe he gets traded. Maybe he goes to another team, and 5-6 years into his career, and he explodes. So I still like those guys while they're still giving you wide receiver 2 potentials or production.
Yeah. I was actually like once we started this talk about the receivers. I had to click on Cooper Kupp just to like see what was going on with him because I remember him like when he was on the Rams. Well, I mean he still is, but like when he had Woods and Brandon Cooks there too, and Todd Gurley, and it was kind of like you never knew which of the receivers was going to go off that week. It seemed like it was almost like a grab bag, but like he definitely wasn't like what he is now. Even though, like, I'm looking at in 2019, he finished basically 5th overall.
Yeah, he was like wide
Or not
receiver
overall,
3
sorry,
one
for
year.
receiver. What's that?
He was wide receiver 3 one year before his big year in 2021.
Well, I think you're talking about 2019. I'm just looking at like what they have him as 5th in PPR and 6th in standard. So maybe different according to like, you know, how the scoring system is. But like, yeah, he's definitely a guy. Like he was like putting up decent numbers when he was playing, and then look what he turned into. I think he's a perfect case example of kind of what we're talking about, where, you know, like honestly, that's kind of why I struggled a little bit with taking DJ Moore at the beginning of this round, because I feel like the dude's been due, kind of, you know. I'm just not very high on the Chicago passing game in general, as I don't think anyone really is, but it's kind of like when Mayfield, was it last year Mayfield went to Carolina?
Yes.
Yeah. It's kind of like when he went there, and it's like, oh, DJ Moore, like he's gonna be the shit kind of a thing, and it's kind of like, well, I don't know if that's necessarily the case. Like we all like the guy, like we see the talent and stuff, but like we saw how that turned out. So I think I'm just trying to temper expectations a little bit with DJ Moore as far as this draft went. Like as far like going to Chicago, like I don't think he's gonna be like, you know, 1,500 yard receiver or anything all of a sudden because Justin Fields is throwing him the ball.
Devontae Adams is another one of those guys. Like he didn't really become Devontae Adams until his 5th year in the league as well.
Yeah,
he didn't change teams, but Dad, Will Levis went what is that, 708? This is the 8th pick in the 7th round. Would you ever start a super flex league with Will Levis as your QB2?
No.
Yeah.
Don't think he's probably don't think he's going to be relevant this year. Maybe half a year. I don't know. You know, they still have Ryan Tannehill. I got to believe, you know, they're not ready to hand the reins over to a rookie quarterback. So I wouldn't do it. Would I draft him as a QB3? Yes, I would, you know, but definitely not in the Titans situation. And I don't think anybody expects the Titans to be threatening anybody in the league this year, but you know, they haven't thrown the towel in. They still got Tannehill, a little weak at wide receiver, but Will Levis as QB2. Sorry, not me.
Yeah, I agree. If that was your QB3 at that pick, I'd be fine. But
yeah, perfect.
I think it's a little interesting that the rookies are starting to trickle back in. You know, with Levis going in this round, we had Flowers and Addison in the last round. So they're starting to like show their head a little bit, like come back up. So we'll see.
Yep. It's always hard. That's why I kind of like separating the rookie draft and startup draft if you're, you know, starting your dynasty year league this year, because it's always hard to be like, can I really take Zay Flowers over like Christian Kirk or something? You know what I mean? It's like really hard to value that, and like because you haven't seen anything from him in the NFL. So Miles Sanders at the 710 to me is a huge steal. I would take him before a lot of these guys. I don't know why. I probably should have taken him over Mixon. I just kind of missed that one. I would take him over Swift. I would take him over Cook. I would take him over Dameon Pierce, Derrick Henry, like all these guys. I think Miles Sanders is going to have a huge year. And he's still, you know, he's 26. He still has good 2 solid years, I think, this year, next year, and probably a 3rd year still left in him. So I tried to get him recently in our Dynasty League, but to no avail. I don't know what you guys think about Miles Sanders, but
I kind of struggled a little bit with taking him over Dobbins. Like, I just think, you know, Dobbins a year out from the injury, being on the Ravens, he's still young, and they did nothing to add anything behind him. So I'm just kind of like, J.K. Dobbins, let's go, man. Like,
yeah, you guys know how I feel about Ravens running backs under Lamar.
Yeah.
I think he's good, and I think he can be efficient. I just don't know. They haven't shown me since Lamar's been there that they're going to feed one running back. But maybe they will this year. Who knows? Maybe this is the year, excuse me, that they do it. I got a cough. What do you guys think about Calvin Ridley? I was thinking about taking him. He goes in the 8th round, 805. What do you guys expect from Calvin Ridley?
Dan? You got something to say, Dan?
Yeah, I guess gradually, he had one, I think, really good year, maybe 2 good years with Atlanta when Atlanta's offense was rolling. Then I think he got injured, and then he had the mental health. He got injured.
Mental health, yeah.
Yeah, and then gambling, and the guy hasn't played football. Here we go. 2 years?
A year and a half, yeah.
Year and a half. I mean, are we expecting him to hit the field and and be Jerry Rice? I don't know, but later rounds, you want a wide receiver 3 or 4 or something like that. Sure. Brian, you need to draft in 20 seconds.
No, I know. I was just going to ask Mike to pause it real quick because we were talking about Ridley. No, I kind of agree with what you're talking about. Yeah, it was like, will you pause, Mike? I agree with what you're saying about Ridley. Like, I think people are. I mean, in the 8th round, like, I don't think you can argue the value there. He was good. I was looking at his stats while you were talking. He was a wide receiver too, basically.
Yeah. Look who he was.
All 3 of his 3 first years.
Look who he was drafted right next to in this mock draft, Amari Cooper, and I'm like, geez, yeah, really?
So it's kind of funny. So when I was making the Dobbins pick at the beginning of the 7th round, I was obviously looking at receivers, also because it's a start 3 and I've only taken 1. And so I was kind of like, all right, like who's here? And I was definitely looking at McLaurin, Moore, Dotson, and Amari Cooper, and even Ridley to a lesser degree. But then I kind of looked at the next 2 guys who I'm about to pick, teaser, I guess, where I was kind of like, well, there's like still 4 guys on the board that I'm happy as my wide receiver 2 and 3, honestly. Mm-hmm. And I think I've said earlier, maybe it was in the last video, that I don't know, like once it got back to me in the 4th round, I was kind of like a little bit more like, all right, let me pick guys. Like, I'm not necessarily like too concerned with youth necessarily, even though the Treylon Burks pick kind of like goes against that a little bit. But he was supposed to be back to back with another receiver, but I had a few days to sleep on it, I guess. But basically, I was kind of like thinking a little bit more win now. Because it's never easier than in your first year to win right away, right? Depending on who you're drafting with, I think. Because some people are going to value youth way over actual like veteran production, kind of, and it's like, oh, I got to get young guys. It's Dynasty, but you can balance it out. I don't think it has to be all or nothing, but
yeah,
I think it's kind of it's something you have to have in your mind going into the draft. And like, you kind of have to see how the board falls to you, like the first couple of picks, or first 4 picks, 5 picks or whatever. And then you can kind of really make a decision on what direction you want to go in, I guess.
Going back to Ridley, I was kind of looking it up where you guys are talking. There's only been, since he entered the league in 2018, there's only been 34 times that a receiver has had 1,300 yards or more. So about six a year, essentially.
Oh, really?
And
okay.
There's only about 20, if you count the individual receivers, not counting Justin Jefferson's on that list 3 times, 3 of the 34. If you take him out and only count him once, there's only about 20 guys, if I counted it right, that in the league that have put up a 1,300-yard season or more, which is like elite territory. Like 1,000 yards, we always think, 1,000 yards is good, and then you do the math, it's like, wow, you can get that by putting up like 9 PPR points a game, basically. 1,300 yards, like you're legit, right? So Ridley has one of those. He has that ability. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Two rookie running backs, Charbonnet and Kendre Miller, go back to back. You guys are fine with them going over Aaron Jones, Pacheco, Cook,
No.
Kamara, Akers?
I'm fine with them going over Kamara, honestly.
I'm not fine with him going over Aaron Jones.
Yeah, not Aaron Jones. Pacheco, it's kind of like you can make the case, and same with James Cook, honestly. I would have taken Aaron Jones out of those 7 guys that went that round. The running back.
Yeah, what's wrong with David Montgomery? I mean, he's
on the Lions.
Well, yeah, the Lions scored 30 points a game last year, so
that was last year.
So, you think much is going to change this year?
Are you guys
just because your team's going to suck next year?
I want to touch on the Montgomery thing, but real quick with Aaron Jones, are you expecting basically what he did last year for Aaron Jones? Or are you expecting more, or what are you expecting from him? Because he is
with what he did last year.
He is 28. You know, he's 28 basically majority of the season, so he's getting to that age of like.
I think
what's he gonna do? Real quick before you go, Dad.
I think. I don't think he gets. He is getting to that age. Yes, I don't think his usage is. I still think he has another year or two of decent production. So, just to make it simple.
Yeah, I mean, again, I did the running back ages over the last 10 years, and running backs 29 and older, there's only 10% of them are finishing in the top 20, right? So. You get some that do finish in the top 30. You get 20. You get another 10% that are finishing in the top 30. So, but I don't know if that's really doing much for you, a running back that's finishing, 28th overall or something. So there is that risk. I mean, he's not a huge high volume guy. I don't know. It's interesting. Like I understand the argument of taking him over Charbonnet or Miller, but. I don't know how much longer we have of Aaron Jones. Basically, we don't even know what we're going to see. What do we expect from the Packers offense this year? I guess.
Well, I mean, I don't know how much worse it can be than last year. I mean, it definitely can be worse, obviously. But like, I don't know if I agree with like I don't know where your cutoff for high volume is. Like, I mean, you got to factor in the targets when it comes to him, obviously. But I mean, if you're getting close to 250 opportunities or more, like which he has like the last, I mean, he's closer to 300 in 2 out of the last 4 years, and 250 is kind of like the other 2. It's kind of like, I think that's enough. I don't know. Like, he's definitely going to split a little bit with Dylan, but I mean, the guy's been a top 12 guy basically the last 4 years, and even last year when they basically sucked. So I think he might be the safety blanket for Jordan Love, depending on how you think that's going to go. I mean, I really like Aaron Jones here, and you don't need him to be a top 5 guy or anything like that, especially if you're getting him in the 8th round. Like,
so let me ask you then, because you said definitely not over Kamara. Why? Well, what's the difference between Jones and Kamara besides potential suspension, which hasn't come down yet?
Yeah, that's kind of like the big thing to me, honestly.
Because he's younger.
That's kind of the big. What's that?
He's younger and he's had better seasons than Aaron Jones in the past. He's been like RB1 before.
Yeah, that's just my personal opinion. Like, you could definitely make the case for Kamara. But yeah, I think the suspension looms high in everyone's head. But honestly, that turns into a buy low opportunity. Because, I mean, we had the same thing last year, going into the last year, where it's like, oh, Kamara's going to be suspended. We saw his ADP drop into like the 4th or 5th round in redraft, I want to say. Maybe that's not exactly correct, but like he was dropping, especially around this time last year, because it was all what's going to happen, and you never really know. So just got to go with your gut, and see what happens.
I think I like Akers over all these running backs, to be honest. Like, the guy went on a
Wow.
tear for 3 years.
What
or
a
3
turncoat.
games. Why am I a turncoat?
You were all over Akers and the Achilles and everything,
Yeah,
know?
it's because you don't listen. I say when guys are having
I
major.
know.
Listen. When guys
He's
have
a
major
I must
injury,
have a
hang on,
lifelong problem of not listening.
on.
Then.
You
Hang
do.
hang on,
Yeah, sure.
hang on. Let me just put it out there. When guys have major injuries, I don't like them the first year after the injury. After that, I'm all in on them. That's why I took Saquon in our Dynasty league last year, because he's a year off his ACL. Akers, he didn't do shit until the last 3 games, where he was basically a year off of his Achilles injury.
Let's keep it clean now. It's a family podcast.
No, it's not. I'm just saying, like, I'm not, just because I say I don't like this guy this year doesn't mean I'm just totally off of him. I don't want major injury guys their first year, and I think that's pretty much proven. Like, and where was Akers going last year? Wasn't he going in like the 5th round or something ridiculous? Like, it was him and like Dobbins that were going very, very high. And if you're picking those guys with like your top 6 picks, those are guys that you need to produce, and you probably lost your fantasy leagues because you took Dobbins or Akers in the 5th round, right? Unless you hit on everything else. So
I lost in our redraft league trading Dobbins to Dad for Tony Pollard, who he drafted like 2 rounds later. He's like, "Oh, you got to start Dobbins," and I was like, "Nah." And I was like,
"Yep." So Akers, again, a year and a half off his Achilles injury. Rams didn't really do much at the running back position. I know they took Zach Evans in like the 6th round, but that doesn't necessarily scare me. Henderson's gone. Why not Akers, like, over all these guys? He's 23 years old, 24 years old. So, Brian, I'm going to unpause it. You going to make your pick?
Yeah, I'm already ready. So I'm just gonna make both my picks right now.
Yeah, Deontay is another guy. Like, we just kind of sour on him a little bit.
Yeah. So I guess so. We talked quite a bit about the 8th round. Well, we talked about specific guys, and I hadn't made my pick yet. So when it came back to me, I finally went my receivers. I got Deontay Johnson and Keenan Allen. Order doesn't matter. I would have taken Keenan Allen over Deontay Johnson more for a win now, but I think Johnson is like my wide receiver 2.5, I guess, because I think at this point it's kind of like, oh, Keenan Allen, Treylon Burks, and Deontay Johnson. Like, I'm fine with starting those 3 guys.
Yeah.
Burks worries me the most. Like, I probably, if I was gonna actually like stick to my guns a little more as far as like trying to win now, I probably should have taken Amari Cooper there. But I'm happy how the way this is kind of like turning out.
Yeah, you kind of need. It's kind of the same reason I took Evans in this round. He's just like a guy that I think I know what I'm going to get from him to kind of stabilize the receiver room, because I have Jameson, Dotson, Marquise Brown, guys with potential, but we don't know what we're going to get from him exactly. So I think taking Evans here helps stabilize that a little bit. All the shit we were talking about Team 11, for them to get Cousins and then Goff, I mean, that's not bad in my opinion. Like, that's a good 1-2 punch right there. If you get a young guy thrown in there, or a solid third quarterback.
I wonder who would have the balls to do that in real life.
Yeah, I mean, if you do a bunch of mock drafts and this is how it comes out, like,
I don't think those are balls; those are friggin' peas, or those are. I mean, to actually strategize to do that, Bijan, McCaffrey, JSN, Derrick Henry. Yeah, I mean that. Wow, that's
I think the computer kind of knows what it's doing. Apparently,
Cousins. Does it when it drafts Levis before Kirk Cousins?
Well, I'm talking about Team 11 specifically.
Yeah, okay, but I'm just looking at some of the guys. And look at there in the next round is Russell Wilson. So he's supposed to have a come to Jesus meeting with Sean Payton and
Yeah, we'll see.
I
he
don't know.
needs to. I don't think
He's
he's supposed to.
Only thing I would change about 11 is I probably instead of Charbonnet, I would have taken a receiver. If you get like a Murray Cooper there, then
Absolutely.
your team's really good in my opinion. You don't need Charbonnet necessarily with the guys you got. So, and then that's maybe like the best team here. So
it's funny. And then it's kind of funny how everybody's looking at Goff nowadays. That he's not so bad.
Yeah, because it's what they do. They surrounded him with the best offensive line and a bunch of weapons, and you can put up 30 touchdowns with that.
Good running game. So I think any quarterback might look decent in that case.
I think you're rewriting history a little bit there. I don't think you were happy when Goff went to the Lions.
Well, of course not.
Okay.
But I wasn't.
Turncoat.
Yeah. So I was happy they got rid of Matt Stafford. It was his time.
Yeah.
What are we talking, like 3 years ago now? I mean, jeez.
Yeah. It's the Algier ADP hasn't kicked in because he definitely shouldn't be going here anymore over A-Chain, over Dylan, over any of these guys, to be honest. I mean, I guess if you look at him as like a handcuff to Bijan, but like you're telling me like Akers went 2 picks before Algier, like that's crazy in my opinion.
You don't think they're what don't you like? I'm sorry.
Algier, like I'd rather AJ Dillon or take my chances with A-Chain or Spears over Algier. I mean, I don't.
A-Chain, yeah.
Just looking at the guys who went in the same round.
You're just thinking Algier's going to get punked out by Bijan, right?
Yeah, I mean, he'll have his role of 10 touches or something, but he's going to have to bust. Like you're never going to start Algier if Bijan's there. Like,
I bet you.
Tyler
Algier has 700 yards rushing.
700 yards rushing.
Over under.
Let me do the math here.
I think that's what, like 45 a game or something? Like,
yeah. Oh, now you're lowering it. 650.
700. I'll stick with what I said.
700 is 41 a game. I can see that because I can just see the line. But what does that do in fantasy? Like,
well, nothing. I mean, but if he has 6 touchdowns, or
still nothing.
Okay.
I mean, all I'm saying is like I'm not saying he shouldn't be on rosters. I'm just saying like I think I'd rather just like A-Chain or AJ Dillon, and then the potential of him going to another team or something.
Well, the only thing that bothers me about A-Chain is there's at least 2 other running backs in front of him, and I know they're older, Jeff Wilson and Mostert, but I think he's going to get his chance. But is he going to get? I can see A-Chain's numbers being similar to Tyler Algier. What I just said.
Yeah, maybe for their first year.
Yeah, and honestly, like in the 12-team league, I mean, Algier is probably fine as like your second flex or your first flex, even if it's your 6th skill position player at a wide receiver and running back. I guess I don't know.
No, I don't. I mean, look at the guys. Like you're saying, he's on par with Keenan Allen or Mike Williams or Mike Evans or David Montgomery, James Conner, like all these guys.
I'm not saying I would take him there. I'm just saying, kind of like, I can see. What's that?
I mean, if you're saying 40 yards a game, that's what you're saying was 700 yards. So you're thinking 40 yards a game and then a touchdown every 3rd game, like. I don't know. I think there's a lot of other guys in here. Like I think A-Chain's gonna put up 60 total yards a game with like 3 catches. Like, okay, that's like 12-team 3rd flex type of potential. I don't know. I just don't think Algiers ADP's kind of kicked in.
I think
Bijan.
your prediction on A Chain is probably pretty right on. So that's
He can bust off a big one,
Yeah, he's got the wheels, the speed to do it. So
if they actually needed it, it would have been better to probably just go with one of the quarterbacks, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
Or like you said, I would have taken Brian Robinson over him.
Yeah, I would too. Or just like you said, Montgomery or Connor, get one of those guys. I'm gonna take James Conner here. Anything else we want to mention on round 9? Kincaid going over Schultz. You think that's okay?
Yeah, I think so.
No,
you take Schultz over Kincaid?
I think so.
What do you expect from Schultz this year?
Probably pretty much what he did with the Cowboys last year. Which let me look at his stats.
570 yards, 5 touchdowns, 57 catches.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I expect him to be a tight end.
What's that?
I agree.
I said I expect him to be a tight end, which means you just throw your dart and kind of there you go kind of thing.
Well, getting him in the 9th round is
Yeah.
Kincaid, I don't know.
He has the potential to be. I think Kincaid probably, if they both stay healthy, this is how I view it. They both stay healthy. I say Kincaid and Schultz, if at worst, basically finish the same. 500-600 yards, 50 catches, and who knows how many touchdowns. But I think Kincaid has that potential of being more.
But Kincaid's a rookie, and So I don't know. And let me back up. The original question was Kincaid or Schultz, and I said Schultz. I'm going to change my mind and say Kincaid. Dynasty. With the Dynasty age aspect and.
Yeah, attached to the better offense and everything,
Yeah.
You can definitely do the thing where it's the tight ends are the safety blanket of rookie quarterbacks kind of a thing, you can make that argument, I guess. I feel like it doesn't really work out most of the time.
The more I'm seeing this draft play out a little bit, it's man, maybe I do go a little youth heavy in the beginning and then just pick up James Conner and David Montgomery as my running backs and and then, or I don't know, it's not necessarily a bad move and go a little youth heavy in the first between rounds 3 and 6, just kind of thinking out loud. It's not necessarily a bad thing here. I took Jordan Love. It's my 3rd quarterback. I think there's a chance we could, Jordan Love could be a stud. I really think there could be a chance of that. So, Dad, Tank Bigsby.
I was kind of hoping Montgomery would make it to my pick, so figured I'm a little running back light, I think Tank is going to end up being the number 2 in Jacksonville, and I don't know. I guess we were just talking about running backs with 600-700 yards and 6 touchdowns or something like that. Yeah, I can see this guy, at that point. It's kind of
why not James Conner? Because you're very notorious for saying I'm gonna win now type of player. So why not take James Conner over Bigsby?
I haven't been on the James Conner parade since he left Pittsburgh. So I know he had one very good year there at Arizona.
He's had 2.
Yeah, he had 2.
Okay, well then I missed a year then, and
both his years.
But
he's RB5.
Yeah,
he was RB5 in 2021.
Yeah,
And then he had a good run at the the second half of last year when he came back from his injury. Like he was a
yeah.
top
The
10 running back.
Cardinals are not a very impressive team. So I don't know. I'm gonna steer clear. So
Well, I think since they went 8-0, what, 2 years ago, and then they just started losing their ass. They haven't been impressive since then.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think. I mean, the fact is, when James Conner's healthy, he's like basically their whole offense, more or less. Especially if Kyler's knocked up, or banged up. I should say he's not pregnant. Yeah, like he's definitely the engine of the team, despite how you feel about him. Like, oh, he's injury prone and stuff. Because I've been the same as you, Dad, like the last couple of years. And even this year, I'm kind of like, yeah, Connor, I don't know. But I mean, the numbers don't lie. So I've just been wrong. Like, that's the way I feel about it.
Yeah, I feel the same. And she's like, yeah, I'll take a chance on him here. That's kind of what I'm saying. Like, if I go like, take Jahmyr Gibbs or, a Dameon Pierce and then like stack it with like Connor and Montgomery. It's like, oh, you have a good running back room you got the youth and the veterans and stuff. So I think it's interesting that 1, 2, 3, 4 rookie receivers that are going early, either late first or early to mid second round in our rookie drafts. All these guys, Downs, Mingo, Rice, Mims, are probably all gone by the 205, I would say.
Yeah. So we're kind of like, sorry, I was just going to say, I think we're almost through the second round in a rookie draft, kind of like we're like halfway through it.
And it feels like this is kind of where they should go. I mean, just looking at some of the other receivers that are there. So like this feels fair for them. Maybe there's a couple other players that if you want to just get good players like a Lockett or something like that. But
yeah, Lockett's my pick, by the way.
It's good. Here, I'll undo it. It's good to see. I
didn't want to add him in case it like ended the draft or something.
Okay. It's good to see like this is a good measuring stick of like, okay, what if I trade my 202 where I can get Josh Downs for, I don't know, Amari Cooper. Like do it, like you can see how people value them in a startup draft or something like that. So
yeah,
they're more valuable in my opinion. Anything.
No, I was gonna say that's a good point. Like you can kind of look at the guy. It's like, all right, at 104, I'd be taking like in a super flex league. It's like, all right, I'm taking CJ Stroud. So you kind of look at him, and it's kind of like, well, shit. Like if I can trade that pick for, like Garrett Wilson, Stephon Diggs, like, I don't know if you're going to quite get that. I'm just looking at either guys on either side of him. Like, I bet you can get Travis Kelce for the 104. I guess it kind of depends on team makeup, but like, I don't know. I'm just kind of like thinking about it in terms of what you just said, Mike. Like, it kind of gives you a little bit of like a measuring stick, kind of.
Yeah, and these guys are probably, I don't know. The history of like second round receivers are not very good. If you go back and look at it, like it's pretty bad actually. So it's just I like taking the veterans a little bit here. So yeah, I mean you're gonna take who'd you say you're taking, Brian? Lockett?
I was gonna take Lockett. So knowing that I have back-to-back picks, like I know we're not going past this round, but my thought here was to get Aaron Rodgers and Tyler Lockett.
Yeah,
and I think that kind of like I feel like it rounds out my roster pretty good. Like not a lot of youth on my team, like no youth basically, besides Bryce Young and Treylon Burks, as far as like, second year, first year guys and stuff. But
yeah,
I'm still pretty happy with it. Like, are we going to recap our team real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So because it's super flex. So my quarterbacks are basically Mahomes, Bryce Young, Aaron Rodgers. I know that's kind of a cheat because like I got 3 guys and you guys don't have that. So I'll just say Mahomes and Bryce Young.
I have 3 guys.
Running backs, Ramondre Stevenson, Nick Chubb, J.K. Dobbins. My 3 starting wide receivers would be Deontay Johnson, Keenan Allen, Tyler Lockett, Treylon Burks as my flex, and Travis Kelce as my tight end.
Yep. It's a solid team. It's not a. Who's your youngest guy? I mean, besides Bryce Young, I guess Treylon Burks.
Yeah, Burks. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I kind of steered in that direction. Where it's like, yeah, I just kind of wanted to see what it would look like, like I feel like one of the things I was kind of looking at, like in my dynasty team, like I feel like a lot of these guys who have already played on this team are, they've got some miles on them and stuff, but they're all like worth something. Like they're definitely starters, like, so if it all starts going to hell, like it commonly does for me, like mid-season, then it's like, start getting some picks, trade Keenan Allen and Deontay Johnson for second rounders, or start like packaging some of these guys. I mean, depending on like how they're doing, I'm sure you can get decent draft capital and start just like kind of blow it all up even after 1 year, like if you're not competitive midway through.
Yeah. Dad, your team, how you feeling?
So I was just kind of looking it over, and quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts, Daniel Jones. It's probably my first time that I've drafted running quarterbacks. So, that I'm kind of usually against it. I know this is a dynasty startup. I have a theory that the running part isn't going to last forever. If you get a few years out of it, 2, 3, 4 years out of the running part, doesn't mean they're not good quarterbacks. That's kind of a bonus. So we kind of rolled the dice in that area. Actual running back.
Young too.
What's that?
I just said they're both young too, so kind of going off of that running quarterback, but they're both young.
Yeah, Josh Allen seems to be the one who's been able to overcome that so far. He's had 700 yards the last 2 years. So, but my actual running backs, Austin Eckler and James Cook and Tank Bigsby, rookie in Jacksonville. So, yeah, we'll see on that one. Wide receivers, probably not bad. Tyreek Hill, Jerry Jeudy. Expecting, a little revelation, I guess. Sean Payton, but you got to be careful thinking that way. So he supposedly is the best one. Terry McLaurin, they got a young quarterback there. So and then Mike Williams. So I think I got a good setup of wide receivers who should be able to produce something. In my old tight end, Mark Andrews, Mr. Reliable for Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I like the pick, or I like the team. I think I was just kind of looking at like what running backs maybe you could get this round to, shore that running back room up a bit. I mean, there's like Khalil Herbert. Khalil Herbert or Madison, with the rumors of Cook. What?
Yeah, Madison or Elijah Mitchell is what I was looking at. So
Elijah Mitchell, or you can go young with like Roshan.
No love for Antonio Gibson?
Maybe.
I mean, McKissick's finally gone,
I like the guy, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking, like, even if he is only getting, like, 8 to 12 rush attempts per game, and maybe that's high, because how much they feed Robinson.
He would be a consideration. I like Antonio Gibson.
He's going to have the pass-catching role, which might dry up a little bit, given they got better receivers there now in general, but I don't know. I would like him there, honestly.
I don't know if I would take him with Dad just running backs. I guess I was looking more for like, like a guy like maybe a little more reliable. Like, all right, Jamal Williams, I think they're going to use him. And I kind of know what I'm getting. Or Madison, if Cook's gone, that potential there, which it seems like Cook is. But I don't know, like pairing him with like James Cook and a Bigsby, just maybe something a little more like.
I think Madison's draft spot is going to change if they get rid of Dalvin Cook. So,
Oh, yeah.
For sure. My team, I took Deshaun Watson, Anthony Richardson, Jordan Love. So I'm happy with my quarterbacks there. Najee Harris and Mixon are my running backs. I was thinking about taking like a Connor instead of Love, but decided to take Love just to talk about him a little bit. Devontae Adams, Jameson Williams, Jahan Dotson, Marquise Brown, Mike Evans are my receivers. No tight end. I just kind of left that. I mean, I like the Waller pick here. I think he's going to have a good year next year. There's still some tight ends, I mean, that you can get for a year or two, or you can go young. So not too worried about that. But yeah, I feel okay with my team. Not great, but just okay. And Team 11's our favorite. No, I don't know. I didn't really look through
somehow they pulled that off.
Yeah. I mean, even Team 4, if they didn't take Quentin Johnston and Addison back to back, like if they had taken Christian Watson or like Michael Pittman and then like Addison or something like that, or Godwin instead of Addison, like I think that team's really good too. Like if Kamara's not suspended, I mean, you got a bunch of young receivers, good tight end, 2 good quarterbacks. Like it's not a bad team. But we don't have to go through everyone's team. It'll take too long.
Yeah. Yeah, overall, I'd be happy to start these guys. One thing about your team, Dad, like you have the obviously like alpha receiver with Tyreek Hill, but having Judy, McLaurin, and Williams as basically your 2, 3, and possibly one of your flexes, like I like that for sure. Like I didn't quite get to that point, but I do like it.
Yep. But we will wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did, you can see the other 2 videos of rounds 1 through 3, 4 through 6. They're already up on the page. As always, like the video and subscribe. We are up to 175. Luis was our 175th. Our brother-in-law / son-in-law was our 175th subscriber. So all right, 175. Like I said, I think I said 200 by mid-June, so it's looking good for now. But thank you. We'll be back putting out some more redraft stuff, maybe some rankings. We'll see. And yeah, any last words, guys, before we close up?
Boomer up.
Boomer sideways.
Boomer up. It's nap time for the boomer. But we'll see you guys.